What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to what day is it? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday edition of House Divided. It's Hump Day. Just don't say that out loud. Hump Day's lame. Cool people don't say Hump Day. They just say Wednesday. But I'm kind of lame sometimes. So it's Hump Day here on Orange Bloods Live.
I'm a Mavericks fan, so you can always go with the Dirk way. Hump Day.
Is that what Dirk? Is that Dirk?
You know, Dirk's
in the again, so I can get it. What does Dirk say?
Dirk in the commercial with the camel, and they're walking through the office. You know,
I've never seen that.
There's a commercial where the camel says Hump Day, and then the Mavericks did a version of it with Dirk saying Hump Day.
Speaking of the Mavericks, boy, they found a way to lose last night. Was that your way of bringing up that the Mavs lost on a half-court shot? If so, well done, Chad.
Actually, I did not even intend to bring that up. So how dare me for even doing that?
I was going to say, don't how dare me. That's a how dare you. I was never even going to bring the Mavericks up. Yeah. Guys, do us a solid. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, all those things. All those things. That also means notification. Click on that as well. Just click on everything until you're fully in as an Orange Bloods Live member. It's free, and all those things help us out. It helps us keep everything free. Also, welcome to everybody in the Specs chat. We'll take your super chats. By all means, super chat away. I'm still glowing in the aftermath of, I believe it was Alan who sent the $100 super chat on Monday when we were doing the Monday Overreaction show. Do appreciate that. And yes, shout out to everybody in the Specs chat who's just letting us know Blake's in Memphis, Tennessee.
Nice.
Kind of feel like Chad and I should do a road trip to Memphis and let Blake show us all over Memphis. I've been in Memphis a couple of times. I always have a really, really good time. Rodolfo just wants you to know that you need to go back to coaching the Mavs. I think that is a reference to you looking like a former coach.
Hey, they have told me I do look a little bit like Rick Carlisle, and all I can say is, who was the coach that got him the title? This guy. Well, not this guy, but a guy that looks like this guy.
By the way, Jonathan, thank you. It was Lane that sent. Alan and Lane both have 4 letters in them, and Lane and L's and A's and N's. So just throwing that out there. And what up, Ben? Coming to us from the big city, New York, New York. What up, Ben? Hope everything is going well out in the NYC. Guys, we're going to start off talking about a conversation today that's not too dissimilar to the one that we had a week ago when Tiger Ryden, the DeSoto running back, commits to Texas A&M. There was a conversation about, Texas has to make decisions in recruiting. Maybe this is that again. Maybe this is part 2. But Jason Sucamel, managing editor, recruiting, head honcho over at orangebloods.com, who, by the way, will be on the recruiting, the Orange Bloods recruiting hour later this afternoon with Chad, reported earlier this morning that Cy-Fair defensive lineman Landon Rink doesn't have I guess the headline was Landon Rink, former Longhorn legacy. His dad, Shane Rink, played for the Longhorns as a defensive lineman back in the day, doesn't have plans to visit Texas. And currently, Texas isn't one of his top schools. And I don't know if that means top 5, top 6, top 10. I'm looking at the quote right now, Chad, and it says, I will not be going there as of right now because they are not one of my top schools currently. You and I are masterful word pickers, right? So the word currently at the end would seem to indicate that there's always some wiggle room that maybe things could change because it's just currently. But he also doesn't say they're not one of his top 5 schools or top 3 schools. He says they're not one of his top schools, which is very ambiguous. The bottom line is Landon Rink is one of the state's top defensive linemen. He's a low 4-star prospect. He's a guy that the Longhorns have offered, but in 2024, getting an offer doesn't mean a ton. He's looked at A&M. He's looked at Oklahoma. He's looked at, quite frankly, it feels like just about every school in the country. He's a guy like Andrew Marsh that has taken a lot of visits. And I thought it was interesting that when he didn't visit Texas in January, and full transparency, in the database that I'm looking at, it shows that he's visited Texas 7 times in the last 2 years. And that might even be a soft number. And he visited them 4 times last year. I don't know. I always thought, well, I don't look at Landon Rink as a super blue chip prospect and somebody that they have to have in this class. But because he's a legacy, because he's a really good player and a guy that, you don't necessarily want a legacy going to Oklahoma or A&M if you're Texas. I've always just kind of thought, well, this guy will end up at Texas. That's just eventually that's what's going to happen. And in fact, I put in a future cast for him last June that now I'm thinking I need to change to A&M. As a matter of fact, I might as well do it right now while I'm on the show with you, Chad. I'm changing my future cast on the show for a Texas legacy away from Texas to Texas A&M. I'm hitting submit. It's officially done. It's kind of a fascinating conversation that we would be having, that this guy who bleeds orange doesn't bleed orange enough to end up having Texas in his top schools currently, and suddenly looks like a guy that might be tabbed for Texas A&M as much as anything else.
The legacy stuff is always interesting. And Catch, I watched an interview he did or maybe a year or so ago. He was asked about Texas, and he used the word home. He said, every time I'm there, I feel like I'm home. We've heard that narrative before. He also described not only his father, his dad is Shane Rink, and you mentioned him in the latter part of the Southwest Conference days, like 91, 95, right in that range. That's Shane Rink. So you've got a little feel of, not to make him this good, but when Aiden Hutchinson became Aiden Hutchinson at Michigan, it was the legacy plus it was the same position, and he and his dad both turned out to be badasses, right? So this is one of those things, if you're a Longhorn fan dreaming, that's what you'd love to have here. He also said his grandpa was a UT guy. Apparently his granddad is dyed-in-the-wool UT, everything Texas, right? So, but the other thing that jumps out to me, Catch, on the opposite side of this, like you said, it's not just if you don't get the legacy, okay, but does he end up at a rival? So one of the things that he has put out on social media recently is a big, proud social media display that he will be taking a visit to A&M in June. And then the running back you mentioned that we just finished talking about, Tiger Ryden, retweets it and says, yeah, and I'm coming on this day. They've both got a June day set up already. So I thought that was noteworthy, that you've got a visit now scheduled coming up for A&M, and that for what he told Jason Sukumel, like you said, breaking down the words, it's different to say, I'm not taking another visit, because then you and I could fall back on, well, he's been there 7 times. He knows Austin better than the mayor. He's fine. No issues. But he had both things. It was, I'm not planning to visit immediately, and they are not one of my top schools. That's the part that would have you concerned if you're a Texas fan.
Well, that's the thing, though. Should Texas fans even be concerned? What thing is, if this guy's not a legacy, then I don't think anybody's really tripping. It's like, okay, well, a state top 50 guy decided that he's not looking at Texas, or Texas isn't in his top group of schools. But there are other fish to fry, right? I mean, Catch a spent, I don't mean to go third person here, but I'm trying to quote what a fan would say, right? This isn't me talking about myself. No, don't do that. This is me. I just said if these are Texas fans talking. He's not a super blue chip. There are other guys at his position, in the defensive end position, in the state of Texas. And we've talked about some of them in the last couple of days. We talked about Chad Woodfork, right? The guy that I projected to go to Texas, even though Can't spit out his name, apparently.
It is a weird combo if you think about it. Like, if his name was Forkwood, it would be a little easier to say.
Yes,
Wood Fork. Your brain sometimes wants to do it a certain way. Wood Fork is a little tougher to say.
Well, and then there's also Wood Folk, right? You've seen that combination. And so, it's fork and folk and combining it with wood and sorry to take us down that road. What makes this thing even a real conversation that we would have today leading off the show is the fact that this is a guy that we say the last name and it's like, oh, Rink. I don't know a lot of Rinks, but one of the Rinks I do know is a guy that used to play at Texas. Is this guy kin to him? Well, yeah, it's his son. Oh, and he's really good? Yeah, he's really good. He's like one of the best players at his position in the state of Texas. Does he have a bunch of offers? Yeah, Texas is offered, and OU is offered, and A&M is offered, and LSU is offered. And it's like, well, does he love Texas? Yeah, man, he's been in Texas like 7 times. He describes it as home, like his granddad is burnt orange as burnt orange gets. Cool. Like, why is he not an early commitment? And now I feel a little bit like the Jewish guy, the old guy in Coming to America. Right? I feel like I just did the whole Spoon story.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't he an early Texas offer or commitment rather? And I think there's a thought that, well, maybe he wants to do his due diligence so that when he does go to Texas, he's visited everywhere and he did a very thoughtful vetting process. But ultimately, I keep coming back to, does Texas really want Landon Rink? Now, when Jason reported this and followed up with a few messages later this morning, Landon told him that Texas still communicates with him quite often, that he's been talking to the new Texas defensive line coach, Kenny Baker, once or twice a week. So it's not like he's not completely on their radar. But there is something there. And I wonder if it really is about the level of Texas interest that's made for this situation to kind of play out the way that it is play out. It is also probably important to reference. I feel like maybe I'm not telling the whole story if we don't emphasize that this kid is from Cypress. He does go to Cy-Fair High School. That is, if I took that last name away from it and he was Landon Jones or Landon Smith or Landon Thomas, and I said he's from Cy-Fair, I feel like a lot of people would go, oh, well, that's even more Aggie than Katie. So he's
now to be
Aggie, right?
To be fair, Catch, isn't that also the high school that Shane went to?
I don't remember.
Like,
Shane
I thought
slightly before my time. I think that's right, but I got to be honest, I have not memorized the Shane Rink recruiting story from back in the day.
I hadn't either. I double checked today. I think I saw this right because obviously I'm looking at the name multiple ways with the kid and the dad. I think he also went there, but maybe it just could be, back then, was it not thought of as much of an A&M connection as maybe you would be saying it is now? That's what I kept thinking too. It's like, well, if it was A&M, if that's the one, like, because I guess that's the question, Catch. Right now, like you just literally changed it while we were on the show. So your answer to, well, if it's not Texas, is there an obvious next one for you right now that is A&M? And, I think that's it's a great point to mention that if that name
could be an A&M OU battle at this point, Chad.
An A&M OU battle for Shane Rink's kid. Nobody would have thought that that's possible, but that's the weirdness of the legacy. The legacy is a weird thing, Catch. Hey, trust me, I know. I'm an Aggie, so I know about weird legacy stories. Because when that particular quarterback had a son that was a badass quarterback, well, guess where I thought he was going? Forever. And there was no question. Well, obviously, he's got it. What are you talking about? I don't get, you can put out whatever you want about this jersey picture or this. No, he's got to go to A&M because he's Kevin Murray's kid, damn it. And that's the way fans think of it. But the thing here is, no disrespect to Landon Rink, the issue here is going to be, is it to that level? Like, Catch, you tell me, when we were talking Brockermeyers in this discussion instead of Rink, the Brockermeyers would have been even higher rated than where Rink is right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. So that was an even more, and also there were two of them, I guess. It was twice the legacy. But in that case, that's what Texas fans were thinking. It's like, oh man, no. Badass dad at the position, badass kid or kids at the position. He's gonna end up here. And then that's part one. When that doesn't happen, then it's okay, well, there's no way he's ending up at some kind of rival. And I'll tell you, a little part of my heart broke when I heard where Kyler Murray was going to end up. Whew, I'd have rather heard USC, Oregon, anywhere.
Well, we also found out last year that Bucky Richardson's kid has a kid who was playing at Oklahoma State and then transferred, but then didn't transfer to A&M. Wait, what?
Right. Was it TCU?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is weird. When you said it out loud, you were the person that told me. He's like, did you realize that? Because I knew the name, but I did not realize it was Bucky's kid. Because Richardson is such an ordinary last name.
It's not like Rink. Like you hear Richardson and you might think, oh, I wonder if he's related to Bucky. But there's a million Richardsons. So
yeah, so it hadn't occurred to me. And it wasn't the same position. He's a receiver rather than a quarterback. So it didn't immediately connect. And then you said that and I went, wait a minute. And then the dumb thought I had was, he's not allowed to go to like we put it in our minds that they're not even allowed to consider these other schools. So obviously modern times, you got to give Landon Rink his chance to process it all through. It's going to be an interesting one to follow though, to see what does it look like when we get to June. He makes the trip to A&M. Is he putting out stuff on social media that he's digging on A&M? What are his reactions to Texas questions? It's going to be wild to follow.
The thing about Rink, if you watch his high school film, he is a badass football player.
Yeah, that's good.
Is undeniable. Like he is a playmaking son of a gun. But I'll be honest, when you look at his film and then you see pictures of him, he's officially listed at 6'3", 280. 6'3" for a defensive end is already at the, well, I'm glad he's not 6'2". It's that kind of a thing.
Right.
And by God, if a guy's 6'2" or under, you're starting to think to yourself, boy, he better be a unicorn, because you don't see a bunch of smaller guys thriving. And if they thrive, they're usually the fastest, most explosive. Like they're making up for size with incredible athleticism. I don't think that about Shane. First of all, I don't know that I believe that Shane Rink is 6'3". It's one of those where it's like, if he was barefoot, what would they get him at the combine? Maybe he is 6'3". I'm 5'10". So anybody over 6 foot looks tall to me. I have a hard time eyeballing people and going face to face. I have a hard time eyeballing people and connecting height. But weirdly, I don't have as much problem when I'm looking at film. I can look at a guy no matter where they're shooting the film from, and I feel like I get a good idea of height when I'm looking at film. And he doesn't look like the tallest guy in the world. He doesn't look like 6'3", getting ready to be 6'4". And so I've wondered, I think he is a classic kind of defensive line tweener. He's skill set says defensive end. His body type says maybe you move him inside, but from a body type standpoint, I've always felt like maybe he's a little undersized. So he's just there's a body composition thing that I don't think anybody's completely figured out. And, I wonder if some of this is Texas has him rated very high, but they do have some questions. They do have some other guys ranked ahead of him. And so here we are. I just can't in a million years imagine that Texas would be pushing for his commitment and they wouldn't even be in his top group of schools because he's already visited 7 times. So
yeah. Plus, these kids catch if they can. Their list of top schools could be any number they want.
We've had 5 anymore.
Kids have thrown out like 25 at a time. They'll put out themselves with about every logo you could think. It's like they throw the house of helmets behind them. Like, I'm trying to choose between all this. But, so he could have easily just said it to just calm it down. Oh, yeah, they're still one of my top schools. And then it never would have been a story.
He could have said, I haven't set up a visit yet. But, I haven't set up I've only set up one. I set up my A&M visit. He could have even said, I don't have plans to make a visit back to Texas. And I don't think people would have thought a whole lot about it. The fact that he says, I don't have Texas among my top group of schools is just kind of stunning. Most schools, even when Texas stops recruiting guys, you'll see it happen all the time, where when it's time to pick a hat, Texas will be one of the schools represented as they're choosing between. It's like, well, this guy hasn't visited Texas in 6 months and they haven't talked to him and nobody's even mentioned this kid in 6 months. And he's got a Texas hat on the table as he announces. I wonder if Landon was never going to do that. I wonder if this is about, you could play the game of charades, but if he deep down knows Texas isn't happening for me, then I need to make sure, because you got to believe the kid's he's got to have some real conflicting feelings. And I hope everybody has a healthy amount of respect for how difficult this must be.
Yeah.
That there's a reason, we can speculate all we want to. There's a reason why Texas isn't in his list of top schools. And whatever that reason is, it's got to be hurtful for him because he's probably grown up his entire life thinking about playing at Texas, being good enough to where they have to take you because you're that good. And here we are 9 months away from signing day, the first signing day for the class of 2025. And he's letting us know right now, I don't think Texas is going to be in that group. And it's just surprising that they're not even on the periphery right now.
Yeah, it is. It's a wild discussion. Good chat's already coming in on the Specs chat. Speaking of, I saw one of my favorite things last night, and it was that lighted sign at Specs. Here's Lisa to tell you more.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
If y'all don't know, if you know the Pflugerville area right up there on the toll, they got a brand new Specs. It used to be a big Best Buy. Now it's a big old Specs. It's fantastic. Saw it last night.
I love that Specs doesn't do small.
Yeah, no, I love the bigger Specs. We talked about it. Those big Specs, and you talked about the one you like to hit that's got that deli when they involve food and stuff, and the Reuben sandwich you love so much. Like, they do all kinds of good stuff. And I love seeing those big locations.
We have a few questions in the Specs chat. Thought we'd knock them out. By the way, we'll just start here. RB says, for God's sake, Chad, from one OCD to another, turn all of those helmets over your right shoulder around so we can get some symmetry coming out of that corner. Does he want the helmets to face each other, I guess?
Yeah, okay.
RB is suggesting.
RB, if you're talking about helmets, the helmets need to face each other, I would agree, but there aren't games about to happen. So when you face the helmets together, that's the game matchup. But anyone who knows the OCD of the helmet knows that you prefer one side or the other. For me, I prefer the side you are seeing. I believe the right side of the helmet is the preferential side of the helmet, just for me. Because if you do it that way, you're making sure you get the Steeler logo because that's on the right side and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a right side of the helmet guy. It's just the way it is.
Vivek asks, why does A&M own Cypress? Do you know? We went through this with Katie just the other day.
Yeah, I don't. That's one I'm not exactly sure of, because with Katie, we kind of argued the country vibe, a little more country feel to the area. I honestly don't know enough about Cypress to tell you. I mean, I think their colors are like in the red color wheel somewhere, but other than that, I'm not exactly sure why Cypress would be considered an A&M area, other than the fact that just the Houston area sometimes is thought of that way, because you're an hour and a half away versus when you're in Austin, you got to catch, as well as anybody. What's the haul from Austin to Houston, Catch? How far do you go? How far are you going?
Yeah, but you're not going from Austin to Houston. You're going from Austin to, well, I guess if you're talking about the difference between the two schools, yeah, it's like 3 hours.
Right. So, a little bit different. In general, sometimes people think of that Houston area as more Aggie than Longhorn because of that distance difference. That's the only thing I would think of. I don't know anything specific.
It's just one of those corners of Houston. Aldine is another, where historically A&M, going back 25, 30 years, just always has seemed to do a little bit better. It may just be a Houston thing, but those are some of the pockets of Houston that are just considered to be very pro-Aggie. Rock drums, let's handle this in like 2 parts. Am I doing okay? Yes. Thank you for asking. He says, them glasses look like they've been through it. Just kidding. I mean, I don't understand what's happened. The glasses are fine. I'm looking at them. There's no cracks. But when I put them on, they're like a little crooked, Chad. So
I like the
and
detail.
when I'm looking at myself in the mirror of us doing the show, because I've got the screen in front of me, I notice how crooked they are. Yeah. And it bothers me. And I try to fix them. But anyway,
I like how people
rock drums, I'm probably going to have to get new glasses.
I like how people are seeing these details. They're worried about your glasses. They think some of the helmet, and they think my helmets are turned the wrong way on one side or whatever it is. So I appreciate it. Like, there's nothing wrong with details. Here's somebody looking at a detail, Catch. JD says, wait, if you're only 5'10", how tall is Chad? That's a great question. I am 2.5 feet tall, in case y'all didn't know that. I mean, in case you haven't figured out the difference. Maybe on a good day, like 3 feet. That's what it is. I'm actually 5'10" as well. So if Catch and I were
I've always liked that about Chad. We're eye to eye whenever we go places.
Yeah, if you ever
by the way,
me and Catch and everybody is standing, we should look exactly the same height to you.
Alfeo VC, formerly known as Alfeo Randall VC, former Texas offensive lineman, former 5-star Texas offensive lineman, says, it's a great day to be a Longhorn. Bitcoin.
All right.
Understand that. Bitcoin it. The thing about Alfeo is he also comes from the Houston area.
Okay.
So, he was a Yates boy. So I don't remember anybody ever saying that about Yates, that it was one school or the other.
Yeah.
When Alfeo was in high school, it felt like Yates was like a huge pipeline, and they just went everywhere. It felt like any kid that would go to Yates might go anywhere in high school, whereas there are some schools. If you say Katy, if you say any of the Cy-Fair, any of the Cypress area schools, I do often think of Texas A&M as
I do too.
This is a good question, Vivek. Is Landon Rink similar to Justice Finkley, just a tweener that isn't a true badass at the college level? I'm not going to – I don't want to say the second part because, maybe there's more to Justice Finkley than we've seen so far.
Let's hope so.
And maybe Landon Rink might turn out to be a true badass when it's all said and done. Mm-hmm. However, on the first part, is he similar to Justice Finkley? A little bit. I think Landon claims to be 280. He just never looks that big to me when I'm eyeballing him. Justice Finkley is legit like 250 and was like a 240 guy, a 235 guy in high school. But yeah, Tweener's a tweener. The thing about Finkley is he's a tweener from an edge rush position and a strong side defensive end. That's the tweener that he is. Landon Rink is a D tackle, strong side defensive end tweener. You don't look at Landon Rink and think to yourself, oh boy, if he goes to Texas first year, Trey Moore and Colin Simmons better watch out.
Yeah, because that film catch, a lot of the film you see, he is on an inside position. He's coming from inside usually.
Yeah, he plays a little 3, a little 4, a little 5. Like they will use him even further outside than that. But you're right, he's mostly inside guy. He may end up being like a 5 tech when it's all. With Landon Rink, what it may come down to is what scheme does the defense that he goes to play, and does that scheme match? Whenever I think of 5 techniques, I think of those big old monsters that the Cowboys used to have, the Chris Cantys of the world. They weren't D tackles, but they weren't truly D ends either. They were like that hybrid of the two things. Landon Rink is a tweener between those two things. Whereas a guy like Chris Canty, it's one for the kids, by the way. I don't do like young Cowboy fans have any idea who Chris Canty is?
No, I think you are dating us both.
He's not even one of the great Cowboys either. But
no, I was going to say I did not. You didn't say like, Carver or something like that, but you picked a name that's a bit down the list, I think.
Well, because from a body type standpoint, he's like a physical monster. And Landon Rink isn't that. He is shorter. He's not quite as big. So I don't know. In the end, I suppose the bottom line is it doesn't look like he's going to end up at Texas. And I think one of the things that we'll now do throughout the rest of this recruiting class, Chad, when Texas lands a defensive end, there will be people who will wonder, okay, so he's better than Landon Rink?
Right.
There will be, I think, a natural comparison that, okay, we're not going to get this Texas legacy because the guys that we're going to get are just better and more badass than him. Okay, so now when they start to come in, I think people are going to want to see that they're more badass.
Yeah. I got another question for you here on Rink. I'm going to hit Sinus and Snoring first, and I got a question for you on another aspect of what this could be. Real quick, let me talk a little Sinus and Snoring. I do love what they do over there because they got everything cleared up for me, got allergies taken care of, get the snoring and sleep apnea taken care of. I had moderate obstructed sleep apnea. What did that mean? It meant I stopped breathing way too many times during the night. Like, they did a measurement. They do a sleep test where you go home, sleep in your own bed, wherever position you sleep in, and they take the numbers. They found out I would stop breathing as much as like 30 times in an hour. Like 30. The acceptable number is 10 or below. And I was up at 30. That's concerning, especially if I'd let it get worse. So if you know you're snoring, if you know you're keeping yourself and others up, if you've got the sleep apnea, maybe you've been diagnosed with sleep apnea, but they didn't deal with it the right way. This is the place that can deal with it. Sinus and Snoring Specialist, over 20 years of experience with ear, nose, and throat from Dr. Slaughter. You'll be treated right. There's all kinds of different options out there. It's not just one thing. You heard about this option or that. They've got them all. They will walk you through everything. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. All right, Catch. So a lot of times, like you've been talking about Texas in terms of how they'll prefer to recruit sometimes. How sometimes with the big dogs, they like to be in the pursuit mode and they don't like to be in protect mode. But let me go to Landon Rink specifically. If Landon Rink is what you say he is, and Landon Rink, deep down, he knows he's a 4-star, but he knows he's not the most badass of badasses. He knows when they talk about the DNs that rock high school football, he might not be right off the top of the list. Could it be possible that Landon Rink might be fishing for a little love here from Sark and the crew? I've been there 7 times. I am very comfortable there, and I've called it home. But at this moment, I'm not feeling like they consider me an important big dog. They don't consider me a Brockermeyer. I'll just use the comparison. So could it be possible Landon Rink, maybe a little on purpose, maybe it just kind of popped out, but could he throw out that idea of, yeah, right now they're not one of my top schools. Hey, I love Texas, but yeah, they're not one of my top schools. Any possibility there's a little intention there to try to get the attention of the Texas crew?
Yeah, that can certainly be part of it. I don't think you can completely dismiss it. And if this either through intentional or unintentionally causes the Longhorns to shore that up. You know, in a meeting today, Sark goes, "Hey, Kenny," because they do this every day. They get together and they say, "Hey, what's going on?" Like they talk about things that happen in recruiting and what announcements were made. Some days are busier than others, but I would imagine, hey, you saw what Landon said on Orange Bloods, right? And there's either, hey, that's the way it is.
Right.
You know, hey, from an appearance standpoint, you know, back in the day, a guy like Mac Brown would have had a meeting with his guys and said, can't let that happen. Can't let him go to A&M. We gotta make it better. There's a bad Mac, by the way. I apologize.
That was not your best Mac. That was not your best Mac. Can't let him get to College Station. God damn it. Let's figure it out.
The thing is, it's been 10 years now. So
I know everybody's Mac has deteriorated at this point.
Except for yours. Yours is still pretty good.
I appreciate it.
I think that they likely had a conversation and discussed this very thing. One thing that Landon said was he's still talking to Kenny Baker and the Texas coaches a couple of times a week. So maybe this kind of thing either allows Texas to really back off. Well, it's out there now, and we're not in his top group of schools. So very quietly, let's just move on. Or the Empire strikes back. And
right.
It could be that, yeah, this was intentional to go fishing, to find out, does anything change? You know, the kid just could have been answering a question too. So it could be any number of different things, but I wouldn't dismiss that. And sometimes these things can unintentionally change things that, hey, we're not in his what? We're not in his top group? How the hell are we not in? Like maybe Texas views him as a backup plan.
Yeah.
And if he's a backup plan, though, you still want him to think he's important.
Yeah. But also, you talk about it. We like to read into the words. Let's talk about the words he did and didn't say in another way. When he said top schools, he never mentioned the number.
True.
He didn't say group. Like his top schools could be 2 and Texas could be 4. Well, that's a different story than if he told you, no, my group is like 8 and Texas is like 17.
No, you're
that's
right.
Not right. He didn't do any of that. So that's vague enough, I think, where if I'm a Texas fan, I don't, you don't freak out about it. You got to pay attention to it, though. Just pay attention to it, see where it goes. And like you said, then it'll be the game of if you're a recruiting nut, it's a game of if this is Landon Rink and Texas ends up with another guy that's right there, or maybe even in a Texas fan's mind is like there, and Rink ends up somewhere else, especially a rival, then you'd have that little bitchy question of, wait. What? Is that dude better than Landon Rink? I don't think he is.
Sark After Dark, hashtag Sark After Dark says, Rink will be a nice portal addition in 3 years.
Modern first world problems.
Though, there's something to be said for that where, look, if you think the guy might be a tweener, let him go figure it out and prove it someplace else.
Let somebody else
Texas
figure it out.
A&M necessarily, right? Like it's not. Right. I don't mean that A&M is Texas's training ground. I just mean in general. I've always been a big believer of if you're Texas and you have questions about a prospect, and look, Landon is in this group, in this tier of prospects, and Landon, if you're listening, don't get upset about what I'm about to say. This isn't about you. This is about the reality of recruiting. He's not a super blue chip. Okay. What does that mean? Well, if you're not a super blue chip, no matter who you are, there's a 75 to 80% chance at best that you're going to fail, that you're not going to turn out to be a productive frontline player at a major college program, that you're not going to be drafted by an NFL team, let alone play in the NFL. That's not about Landon. That is about, there's 2 tiers, and they go about 75 deep in total. And the 78th best player in the country and the 500th best player in the country are roughly the same. And by roughly the same, it means that they have extraordinary mathematical odds if I was playing a game of Russian roulette with you and I said there was one bullet in the gun, you'd feel a lot better about that than if I told you there were 5. So, well, that's not really Russian roulette, is it? That's just shooting yourself in the head.
I was about to say, hold on, wait 1 second. You need to come up with a new name for that game. Damn.
How do you play catch 'em roulette? Well, you find a loaded revolver and you point it at your head and you pray like crazy that there's a misfire.
No, yeah, I know exactly. What is that? That's not called Russian roulette. That is called you need Jesus. That's what it's called.
But it is similar. There is it's like a reverse Russian roulette where a 5-star guy or a high 4-star guy, the likelihood of them hitting, not the best metaphor there, but hitting, just hang with me, guys. I'm almost done. We're going to go to Texas basketball. Speaking of hitting, we're going to get to Brock Cunningham in just a second. You like how I did that, Chad? But, the statistical odds of Rink being a guy that Texas 5 years from now really rues the day they made that mistake, and there's like an 80 to 85% chance that just doesn't happen. And there's about a 15, 20% chance that in 5 years from now, Texas goes, boy, in hindsight, should have offered Landon Rink, except the portal now opens up an avenue where if you look at him and he goes to any school and starts to tear it up, you can always say, hey, you can still come to Austin and Texas and have your granddaddy root for you if you want to. There is a way, whereas there used to be not ways to make that happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's check the Specs chat here real quick. Hunter threw in on the chat, kind of had the idea that I had. We just talked about. Is he trying to make Texas jealous? Rock drums, Chris Canty with the face mask. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that is one of the things that does come to mind.
Wasn't Chris Canty, look, back in the day, the Cowboys had real drafting problems. I think we got him in the 4th round. And he was like one of those 4th-round picks that when you draft him, they say, had he not had injuries or whatever issues there were for Chris Canty back when the draft happened, he could have been a 1st-round draft pick. And in the end, Chris Canty was a guy that played like a 1st-round draft pick that the Cowboys got. I want to say like top half of the 4th round.
Yeah.
Look that up, actually.
In fact, to my quick comparison earlier, Catch, he really is. I did him a big disservice by even mentioning this dude's name. Chris Canty is the anti Shante Carver. They're the opposite guy. One of them got drafted high and played the other way. The other one didn't get drafted high, but played like he did. That was Chris Canty.
The reverse Shante Carver. That's a hell of a thing to be.
That's what you want to be. You want to be the reverse Carver, not the Carver.
He was a 4th-round draft pick, by the way, 132.
Oof, man, that's good value.
Late 4th.
Value for Chris Canty right there.
And he was back in the draft when they weren't giving out what do you call them? The compensatory picks.
Those sandwich picks, the compensation. Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't getting. Now there's like 10 of those, and every round from the 3rd round on. He was late 4th round. Hunter King says, isn't Trey Owens a Cypress kid? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes, he is. And I'm not telling you that every kid goes from Cypress to A&M. I'm just telling you that it's a school that has a big A&M reputation.
No doubt. Catch, how about this chat? Blake says, hook 'em Wednesday after big wins across the UT programs, to hit 2 of them here. Texas baseball got another win, big win over St. John's, 15-4. But Catch, the big focus last night was in Lubbock, where Texas absolutely thrashed Texas Tech. Last time they're probably ever going to play in that barn in Lubbock, Texas went out in a big way.
It was such a Texas versus Texas Tech kind of game. And to be completely transparent, it was also very much a Texas Tech versus Texas A&M kind of game. There are competitions, and regardless of the sport, that when they take place, you're reminded of a lot of things. And last night, big performance by Texas. That first half, the great thing about that first half is it wasn't just a Max Asmus and Dylan Dessou combo, right? It wasn't like those two guys combined for 30 points in the first half, and that's why Texas put together one of the best first halves of the season. It was the entire team. Texas got like 35 points from its bench last night and might have had more had Brock Cunningham not
exited with 10 minutes.
Had he not gone Jeff Ketchum. Look, here's the thing that I haven't said out loud. Because the last time I said this about Brock, people got mad at me.
Uh-oh, here we go.
But I'm a 5'10" version of Brock Cunningham with a little bit better handles when I was in my prime. But believe me, if any of you have ever been in Austin and played at Shipe Park, one of the unique things about Shipe is that up against the court is a cement wall. It's a unique situation.
It is.
On one side, there's all the room in the world to run out of bounds. On the other side, there's a short cement wall that's about 2.5 feet tall. And then there's an even bigger like cement and stuff behind it, right? Many a times have I played basketball at Shipe where I've been going for a loose ball. Someone else has been going for a loose ball. And I've done exactly what Brock Cunningham did last night. I've decided I'm not getting the ball, but you know what I can get? I can get my shoulder into that dude's body. And, if he goes flying into the cement, so be it. That's what Brock did to that dude from Texas Tech last night. I'm not mad about it. It's the last time those two teams are ever going to play. And if Brock Cunningham, before the game, said in an interview right here on House Divided, guys, it's my 6th year. We've been to Texas Tech every single one of my 6 years. But not only is this my last chance to play in Lubbock, and oh, by the way, do you remember what they did to us when we came in on the buses? Chris Beard's first season? I do. But we're never going to play Tech again. This is over with. If we're up by 20 with 10 minutes to go, I might start a riot. If he said that yesterday on our show, we all would have went, totally understand, Brock.
Yeah.
If by some chance you're up by 20 with 10 minutes to go and you just can't help yourself and you channel your inner Bill Laimbeer / Rick Mahorn on the basketball court. And by the way, as bad as that was, and he could have hurt that dude, it wasn't as bad as like the arm tackle thing that happened the Saturday before. I can't even remember the guy that did it, but remember the guy that like clotheslined one of the Texas players?
Yeah. The guy that hit it was it Weaver?
I think it was.
That got hit?
I've already blacked that out of my mind, but I remember it happening.
Yeah, it was bad.
And that guy got thrown out of the game, and it was like, oh, man, you're lucky a riot didn't start.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as that because the guy was in the air, whereas Brock ran into a guy who was level on the ground. It's just
right.
By definition, they're different. But kind of the same thing. When I saw it, I was like, all right, well, that's a flagrant 2. They're going to throw him out of the game. And they did. And I don't think anybody's really arguing about that. I think in real time, Texas fans were like, what's the big deal? He was just going for the ball. And it was like, no, watch the replay. You literally watch his body take a 78-degree turn in order for that contact to occur the way that it does.
Oh, yeah.
That was not 90 degrees. He turned it in. It was not a right triangle. He made a point to make it acute. Obtuse would have meant that they never contacted each other. Acute contact. And then Texas Tech went Texas Tech. And if you're a Texas administrator today, when Chris Del Conte woke up today if his wife said, "Good morning, honey," and the first words out of Chris Del, if his daughters were like, "Hey, Dad, we love you. We're going to school," and his first words out of his mouth were, "We're not playing those motherfuckers ever again," it would have been completely justified. Completely. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened today. You know what happens? Texas Tech and their fans are always like, "Fuck Texas." They hate Texas.
They
Texas
chanted
Tech,
it last night.
They got the chant going.
They got all kinds of chants happening in that building.
But you know who Texas Tech administrators are? Please, Texas.
Oh.
Pretty please. Please, please, please. Play us on Thanksgiving. Play us in September. Play us as a preseason game. Just tell people you're going to play us. You don't even have to. We could be your side piece that you never actually get seen in public with. Just can you tell us that you want to play us? That's what Texas administration is.
We'll be your Matt Damon. Put us on the schedule and then just say that we didn't get around to playing. That we don't care.
And if you're Texas, you realized last night why when we go to the SEC, we might play some in-state teams again. Rice.
UTA.
UTSA. All right? Rice.
Rio Grande Valley, obviously. Yeah.
Rice.
Some rice.
But you're not going to play Texas Tech. And one of the big reasons why is because why would you even concern yourself with that?
Right.
If I told you before the game, no details added, at some point in the game, a near riot is going to occur. And beer bottles and Dasani tortillas and all kinds flasks, you name it, all kinds of things are going to be thrown from the stands onto the court, and that there's going to be a visual image on television of some tech dude getting arrested by 6 people and having to be carried out of the arena.
Dragging him up into the tunnel, up into the yep.
By the way, you know what they never say about people who have to be dragged out of arenas by 6 police officers?
He must love Shakespeare.
You never hear them say, "Well, that guy went on to have a very spectacular life." I saw that and I thought to myself, I tried to, in my mind, think, what's that guy going to do as a career moving forward?
That guy's not the mayor? That guy's not the mayor in 3 years, you don't think?
Well, politician might be the one thing he can do.
Yeah.
Especially in Lubbock, if we're being completely honest. But leader of a Fortune 500 company? Probably not. Future administrator on any level? Probably not. Bouncer at a strip club? Maybe.
Yeah. By the way, Vivek, the answer is no here. It's embarrassing how Tech fans act. Do they realize their administration is begging us? No. That's not how they look at it. Ever.
But then we'll see stories come out of the Lubbock media about how Texas is ducking Texas Tech.
Right.
And that there was an agreement, but Texas hasn't lived up to the agreement and whatever. Texas Tech showed their ass last night. And look, so did Brock Cunningham. But you know what?
Right.
Brock Cunningham is like a WWE character. He really is. In fact,
that's it.
I wouldn't be mad at him if he became a WWE performer.
He's kind of Daniel Bryan from back in the day. That's kind of who he is.
And he embraces it.
The crowd loves him. He should just start doing this. Yeah.
He gets incredible pops. No matter where he is. He gets great pops. And walking out of the arena, giving them the double hook'ems into the air. Like, here's to you, Brock Cunningham. But if you're Texas and you're trying to think about your future, I'm not going to make a Chris Beard metaphor here, but Texas Tech just doesn't need to be somebody that you go out with. Just It's bad. It's bad for everybody. That was not good. You know, the only thing that was good about last night, Texas Tech had a sellout. Their fans were sleeping outside for 4 days trying to get tickets. But that was not good for Texas Tech last night. Prospective recruits, prospective students, people around the country, nobody looked at that and thought to themselves, hey, Chad, did you see that Texas Tech game last night? Yeah, no, it was wild. You want to go to Lubbock? We go hang out in Lubbock for a weekend? Hey, your son's looking for a place to go to school, right? Just send him to Lubbock. Last night, that looked awesome. No, It was embarrassing. And if you're Texas, you don't want to be associated with that type of embarrassment. Last night, Texas Tech did more for Texas in helping explain why they never go through that again than anything that they could really ever say. When lawmakers in a couple of years start doing lawmaker things and they hold some sort of session at the state capitol, and it's like, you know, Chris Del Conte's got to go sit before Texas lawmakers and explain why Texas isn't helping another Texas institution by playing them. All he has to say is, did you guys watch the basketball game that we last played? And it's as simple as that. Yep. It's as simple as that. Texas got its get out of jail card. It rarely happens. If anybody's ever been in a bad relationship where things just aren't working well, but everybody around you thinks you're really lucky to be with that person. So you're thinking to yourself, I really need to find somebody new. I need to start over. This isn't working out. It's kind of toxic. But all your friends are telling you, Sharon's just great. You are so lucky to have her. Every time you bring her over to the house, we just have the best time. How come you haven't proposed to that girl yet? And you're thinking to yourself, you guys have no idea. Y'all don't know. And then the last time that you ever go out with her, you take her over to your friend's house and she has a few beverages and she starts talking shit loudly. And by the end of it, they just want everybody to go home and the drama to be over. And then when you tell them, yeah, Sharon and I broke up, they're all like, oh, yeah, no, it makes total sense. Like, good for you. I was going to tell you that maybe it was a good idea. That's what last night was. Last night was the clean breakup in a bad relationship, and Texas doesn't have to worry about any of its friends moving forward asking about Sharon. How come Sharon isn't coming around the house anymore? Did you see what she did the last time we came over? Breaking stuff, cursing loudly, yelling at your kids. Someone had to be carted off by the police. No more.
Yeah, that is fair. We got buy or sell coming up here in just a couple minutes. Also, another comment about last night. We got some good chats coming in, and we have an interesting chat question for us here at House Divided that we have not really talked about. Maybe we
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
What the hell was the purpose of having Flavor Flav there?
About the same as having Flair.
No, the thing is, look.
That's what they thought. I mean, I'm giving you their logic. Their logic was they've had Ric Flair at events before, and he's an icon to them in a certain way, and they think Flavor Flav, I guess, is the same type of icon, so let's get some attention. So they paid him to show up.
Do we really think that Flavor Flav is an icon in Lubbock?
Oh, yes. Sorry. It was a no until you said in Lubbock. Yes. Yeah. Of course. In Lubbock, Texas?
Look.
Yeah.
What is Flavor Flav known for? Really?
He's the hype man of Public Enemy.
Correct. What is the number one most famous song that Flavor Flav as a member of Public Enemy is known for? Fight the Power.
Okay.
He's known for wearing clocks. The thing is, Fight the Power came out 34 years ago.
Right.
Is he really an icon?
Again, the last two words of your question, you always talk about word. The last two words are everything. What were the last two words of that question?
I don't even remember.
In Lubbock were the last two words of your question.
Look, man, if Anwar Richardson's in the chat, I'm okay with Anwar coming onto the show to kind of explain this. But I've talked to Anwar when he's driven to Lubbock before. And he will call me about 3/4 of the way there and go, yeah, man, I don't know if I need to be getting out of the car. Like, let me get to Lubbock. Let me get in. Let me get out. Something about cotton fields. And like, he's a little queasy. But Anwar's been with us for 10 years. There's a queasiness about going in and out of Lubbock.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, Flavor Flav feels a bit dated. Look, when Texas brings, who have they had come in and do rap concerts in the last couple of years over at the Bevo Boulevard thing or whatever they call it? They'll bring in like Nelly.
Nelly and Big Boy come to mind.
When they bring in Nelly, I like Nelly. I have a lot of really positive feelings about Nelly over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But he does feel a bit dated. Like, even in 2024, Nelly feels dated to me.
Right. Say what you will. I mean, it was free admission.
Say what you want to about Nelly. He is from this century. Sure. Flavor Flav is from the early 90s.
Look, Catch, they thought they were, deep down, they thought they'd get the night they wanted. They'd get the moment they wanted, and he'd get to throw a yeah boy on the top of it. That's what they thought. It's just what they thought. And because he's rocking a clock, it is, it's time for a big win or whatever it was going to be. And he was going to do that laugh, and they thought they were going to be able to clown Texas with it. And it just
did not. What they thought they were going to get versus what happened last night, if you were a Texas fan, is quite glorious.
Yeah, and instead they ended up with the Public Enemy lyric of bass. How low can you go in Lubbock, Texas? That's where they ended up. All right, before we do anything else, Catch.
I bet that one dude in jail was singing 911 as a joke.
Get up, get down.
911. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. I guess he could have also done by the time I get to Arizona, because maybe that was, but they would have had to drag him to Arizona before you could calm down, probably. But before we do anything else, would you tell the folks about Prime Shrimp? Because I'm thinking of lunch and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Let them know why Prime Shrimp might be a good idea.
I can't get all I can think about. I'm sorry. Flavor Flav wishes he could order some Prime Shrimp. I guarantee you he'd rather have had some Prime Shrimp last night than whatever was being sold in Lubbock. Look, it's real simple. You got all the different flavors. You go to the website, primeshrimp.com, or scan that QR code. Check out what they have. Get what you like. Know that whatever you're ordering, you're getting for less than $13, sometimes less than $10. Just kind of depends on what thing you want to go for. Great food. The best. I've never had anybody from Orange Bloods complain, and people at Orange Bloods complain about everything. There's an old saying that I won't say out loud because it's kind of vulgar, but it's about complaining about something. They complain about that. They never complain about Prime Shrimp. Great costs, affordable, great tasting, easy to make. It's the meal for the whole family that keeps on giving. When you order 6 or more, use that promo code OrangeBloods30, you get a 30% off discount. So you just stay winning by continuing to buy Prime Shrimp. Again, scan that QR code. Just go look at it yourself. Go look at it. Go look at the flavors. Find out what works out best for you. Order it. Get the hookup today. Prime Shrimp.
There you have it. All right. So we haven't somebody brought up something that we've never haven't discussed.
911 is choking your town.
Okay. That was funny. I enjoyed seeing Flavor Flav last night. I just enjoyed that whole show last night, but we'll get back to that one in a second. But Catch, someone asked us, looking forward, Brandon wants to know, any early wagers on the Texas A&M game? Y'all need to start playing this up. The question was, would you have to wear an A&M jersey for a week? Or does Chad have to sing Texas Fight every day for a week? Brandon, we have not talked about that idea of when House Divided comes back together. I'm assuming he means the football game in November, that there would be some kind of punishment for one of us, one way or the other. Are you up for something like that or not?
I am not.
All right. There you go.
I've
Brandon?
never been a big let's make a bet and the loser has to humiliate themselves. God, like I've never done that with anybody I've ever known. Never had a friend who liked another team. Because here's the thing about me. Losing's bad enough. It just is.
It's true.
If losing isn't high enough stakes for you, then you're not a big enough fan. Because when the teams that I really care about lose, I don't need bets to make it worse. And quite frankly, wearing like an A&M jersey, if A&M were to win in football, you know what would be worse than that? Coming to work knowing that nobody's watching our videos that week because they're in denial and pain. And Chad knows. Well, we did after the Texas OU game. We didn't need a bet with the guys over at Sooner Scoop to make that bad.
Yeah. Right.
Texas lost, and our viewing numbers tanked for a week. We were like, what the hell? We didn't do anything. Trust me, losing stings enough. It feels bad enough. If Texas beats Texas A&M in football in November on Thanksgiving Day weekend, I don't need Chad to wear a Texas jersey. That won't be the worst part of it. The actual loss will be the worst part of it. So personally, I've just never been into those types of things. So Chad, if you are, I apologize. It's not my bag.
Brandon, we appreciate the question. We appreciate all those chats. If you want to throw us a super chat, it will go right to the top. Somebody made the Grayson Allen reference to your playground skills earlier, Catch. Was that fair? Were you the Grayson Allen of Shipe Park?
I was the Rick Mahorn of Shipe. Grayson Allen doesn't go far enough.
Okay. You were Rick Mahorn.
I patterned my game after Rick. I'm telling you, when Rick Mahorn went to the 76ers in the 88-89 season, and he and Charles Barkley became thump and bump, it was like the greatest year of my life. It was the greatest year of my life. Those two guys throwing guys around. Everybody talks about the malice at the palace. People forget that the Sixers and the Pistons had a brawl in the spring of 89 that was as bad or worse. It just didn't involve anybody that looked like a character from Entourage. But that went into the stands, and like there were haymakers that landed that night. So, you know, I would invite, look, go onto YouTube and just type in Pistons Sixers fight. See what comes up. Trust me. Yeah. No, the thing is, I was one of those guys that you like to have on your team. I got into a lot of fights when I was younger. And now that I'm an adult, I'm a grown person with responsibilities and kids and stuff, I look at my old style. Like I used to brag, Chad, that I never got dunked on when playing basketball. And I played with a lot of dudes back in the day that could most definitely dunk. As I've gotten older, I've realized nobody ever dunked on me because they were terrified I would hurt them. And that's actually not a nice thing. And like it's not a compliment. It's not like, yeah, they were afraid. No, they were afraid because I was dirty. They were afraid that while they were in the middle of the air, I would undercut them and potentially make it so that they could never play basketball again. At the end, I've come full circle and I've realized like that actually isn't like a thing to brag about. Like if you tell people, people, that's not a positive thing, but it's true. It is my reality.
Oh my God.
And I feel like I feel like there are people that I grew up with that are watching the videos right now. And they're like, I'm so glad that Ketch finally understands the fear of God that he used to put into people when all they were trying to do was make a layup and they saw him within 15 feet of the goal.
Yeah, you almost got that right. What they're thinking is, Ketch, I'm glad Ketch finally understands. Man, I'm glad he understands what he did. They're feeling it still today.
And you know what I would do? You know what my recourse was? To do what Texas fans did last night. What do you mean? I was just going for the ball.
It was clean. What are you talking about?
Guys going for the ball. We collided together. Somebody's got to lose that battle. That's exactly what I would do.
What I imagined was two Texas fans, Ketch, sitting up high last night in Lubbock, up high in that arena. One of them turned to the other and went, that was badass, but it was pretty dirty.
Yes!
Like realizing what they were watching. Like, that's dirty play. We got to understand that.
Problem in 2024 is that they have all these camera angles that show you, oh, he did curve off into that, didn't he?
Yeah.
It wasn't like two guys ran into each other. He leaned into it a little bit.
It was pretty serious. Ketch, before we get to buy or sell, I'm going to throw up Hayes City this way because I got a little story to tell you. You know how I've been talking about the Hayes City store chicken fried pork chop, correct?
Yes.
Now it's in my brain so much, I had a dream about it. I dreamed that a friend of mine and I agreed we were going to Hayes City store to have the chicken fried pork chop. He went ahead of me, had it, and then told me he had it, and I didn't talk to him for a year. That was the dream I had last night about the Hayes City store chicken fried pork chop. So I have got to get out there and have this damn thing. I've had the grilled pork chop. My wife swears by it. I've had the blackened pork chop. Don't tell her, but I think it's a little bit better even than the grilled. I love the blackened seasoning, so that's just my thing. And I can't wait to try the chicken fried pork chop. Chicken fried steak's incredible. We've talked about that. The desserts are amazing, including Barry's Heaven. Just order it, and I think you will be very, very happy. And the drinks are amazing. That bourbon milkshake for dessert is awesome. But they've got 40 beers on tap. If you love bourbon, they got you taken care of. You can do a frozen margarita flight out there at Hayes City Store. All kinds of cool stuff. There's your QR code. Whether you're dreaming about it like I am or not, trust me, you'll be enjoying it when you head out there. Hayes City Store. Find one of these great days in the spring where the weather's awesome and get on out there to beautiful Driftwood. Tell Travis and Tamara and the crew that we said hey out at Hayes City Store.
I have a question about the dream.
Yes.
In the dream, did the person telling you that they had Hayes City Store, do you remember that? Was that conversation part of the dream?
It was part of the dream. I was like across a room and it's weird. It wasn't a real person to me though. It's not like it was a friend I could tell you his or her name.
It wasn't like I was in your dream and then I told you.
Exactly. They're literally, I can't think of one person for sure other than me that I knew in the dream. This was like generic friend that had wronged me.
And then you know that you didn't talk to that friend for a year because in the same dream you were able to fast forward 12 months?
Yes, because I was at Hayes City well after the fact.
I'm asking you to explain dreams, and I realize it's hard to do that sometimes. But I've never had a dream where something occurred, and then, like in a movie, like there was a dissolve into another scene, and then 12 months later.
yeah. It was the dream where all I needed was I needed the SpongeBob SquarePants voice of 12 months later. But the idea, whether we got through the full 12 months, I'm not exactly sure, but I just recall the notion of that the person was bitching at me. I think it was like they came back to Hayes City, they say it to me. Like, you haven't spoken to me for a year, and just because, and I start screaming at him, just because you had the pork chop before I did. Leave me alone. That's what it was, I think.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Let's do buy or sell. I'll go first today.
Fair enough.
I don't know how good my questions are. I've got a hotter than that I'm a little lukewarm on, but we'll get started here. Buy or sell number one.
Mm-hmm.
Texas women versus OU women tonight. You're in.
Yeah, bye. I'll definitely check it out. I've been in that venue for a big time women's matchup, and it's a special place. I hope Texas gets it done. That would be fun to watch. So I'm definitely going to check it out. That's a fighting group, man. I hope they get it done.
Buy or sell number two. If we were giving out grades for the 2023 Texas football season, you'd give CJ Baxter a B+.
A B+, CJ. Yeah, that's a buy. That's about right. I wouldn't go as far as an A, but a B might feel a little tough. So, yeah, no, I think you hit it. I think that's about fair.
I would give him a B.
Okay.
And there's nuance there, right? Because it's really splitting hairs to be like, I wouldn't give him an 88, but I'd give him an 86. But I found myself thinking that yesterday, and I thought that would be an interesting buy or sell question because of the B+ component. Buy or sell number three. Kansas is paying Lance LaPolle $7 million per year. And that's a sign that KU knows it can't just be a basketball school moving forward.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I mean, I think they've realized they've been impactful enough over these last couple years that, yeah, they got to pay the guy if they want him to hang around. I think they also know he's a damn good coach. And I think they just have an awareness maybe of what it is. And hell, good for them. I never thought I'd live long enough to see Kansas's football coach get $7 million a year. I mean, Texas is. I've heard when Chance Mock, who's on the Outsiders with us, when Chance talks about playing at Kansas, oh my God, we talk about empty stadium stories. Like, you know, he knows what that used to look like, and they've changed it a little bit. So yeah, I'll buy that.
You know, they are paying Bill Self over $10 million a year.
It's crazy.
He's on a 5-year, $53 million deal.
Man.
So whatever they give in Leipold, it's not more than Bill Self. Amazingly enough. All right, buy or sell number four. This question could be interpreted in a lot of ways. So let me read you the question, and before you answer, let me give you the context for which I mean the question.
All right.
Buy or sell number four. The last Matthew McConaughey movie that you've seen was Interstellar. Now, by that, I don't mean a Matthew McConaughey movie that you randomly saw on TV or went out of your way to watch, and thus you saw Dazed and Confused a week ago, and that's it. I mean, he's got a filmography. Mm-hmm. And the last movie in his filmography that you can recall watching was Interstellar, which, if I'm not mistaken, was 2014.
Oh, God. Okay, so I know I saw Interstellar in the theater. I remember doing that. The question would be, would that be before or after Dallas Buyers Club?
Interstellar is after Dallas Buyers Club.
If that is the case, because I made a point to see Dallas Buyers Club, I saw Interstellar. You got the list after that, just so we can double check?
Yes.
Give me like the next 3 movies after that, and then we'll stop.
The Sea of Trees.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Me either.
Free State of Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know what that movie's about, but I didn't ever see it.
I never saw it either. Give me one more, just to be sure.
Kubo and the Two Strings.
Okay, so bye. The last Matthew McConaughey movie I saw, yes, was Interstellar. absolutely true. And a pretty damn good movie, too. Interstellar was good. Long as hell. Long as hell. Tried to do a whole lot, but I thought it did a pretty good job of it. I would recommend that movie. It's good.
I'm not a big Interstellar fan. There are a couple that I have seen. Sing. He's got a voice role in that, but I have seen the movie Sing.
Oh, wait. Well, if Sing counts, then it's a sell. I've seen Sing, yeah.
Don't you have to include it?
If we're including that, my kid was into Sing. I sat down and watched that with her and my wife. We watched that one as a family. So let's sell. I'll take Sing. I forgot that he was the voice. So, yeah.
I'll give you one more. I saw the movie White Boy Rick in 2018. He's in that movie, but he's like a small character.
Yeah, did not see that. By the way, I'm making my way through Wolf of Wall Street. Not done yet, but I'm making my way through it.
It's a long movie as well.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
Where are you at in the movie, out of curiosity?
I am Leonardo DiCaprio has just begun he's just begun working with the penny stock situation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I am.
And finally, buy or sell number 5. I have a game of Hotter Than.
Okay.
It's kind of an odd one, okay? There's no real rhyme or reason for this. They are 2 different creatures.
That's what we count on around here. Let's go.
Emma Stone. Hotter than Selena Gomez.
Ooh, this is interesting. Emma Stone hotter than Selena Gomez. Interesting battle for me because the word hot does not immediately come to mind with either. I would use other words to describe both of them. Dig both of them a lot. For the hottest Emma Stone, I don't like these kind of movies, but I think Emma Stone in Zombieland might be my favorite Emma Stone. She's so attractive in that movie to me. So I'm thinking of that Emma Stone, Selena Gomez, definitely on the younger side of things in this discussion. Has Selena ever been to a level where I would put her hotter than that particular Emma Stone? Emma Stone hotter.
I mean, they're completely different.
They really are. They're very different. There's like a sweet cuteness to Selena, and there's that cute hotness to Emma Stone. Yeah, I'll go Emma. I'll buy. It's close, but I'm gonna buy that one. I'm gonna go Emma Stone killing the zombies, hotter than Selena Gomez. I just don't have a connection point for Selena Gomez. Like, I don't have anything. I can't think of. I haven't watched any of the show with her and Steve Martin and Martin Short, and have not gotten into my daughter is not a massive fan of her music, so I haven't gotten into that side of things. So yeah, I don't have many connection points with Selena. So
Fair
I'll
enough.
go Emma.
My turn.
Yeah. All right. I too will finish up with a hotter than catch. We got a birthday girl today. We got an iconic movie scene, and I think I came up with a good comparison, but we'll find out. Let's start with this one. Buy or sell number 1. Texas women's hoops beats Oklahoma tonight in Norman.
Buy. OU beat Oklahoma State by 35 points this weekend. They're ready for this game, but Texas, having lost the way they did to Oklahoma, I think they'll be ready to play. I think in general, they're better than Oklahoma. It's a 1 seed versus a team that's being talked about as like a 7 seed or a 6 seed, even though it's on the road. I'm going to say that Texas wins this game and kind of cements their position as a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. If they lose it, I don't think they're going to be a 1 seed. So in addition to the conference championship, there is a 1 seed at stake in this. And I'm going to take the Longhorns to get it done. Crazy, but yes.
By the way, not that they're not impressive at Moody Center. This is a kind of team to me that's way more interesting on the road in certain ways. They showed it to us in Waco, and I want to see what that looks like tonight too. Vic Schaefer's team has a little bit of a let's go pick a fight vibe to them. Let's see what they look like tonight. Buy or sell number 2 catch. Ryan Wingo, over under on catches by the end of the Michigan game, 2.5. You'll take the over.
Sell.
Okay.
I don't know how that he plays in Michigan. So that would mean he'd have to have 3 catches in the opener. And I don't think that's going to happen either. So I'll take the under.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking Wingo and receivers this week. Just wanted to get your taste on that one. Buy or sell number 3, Catch. Based on last night and big games in the past, Texas Hoops beats Baylor in Waco on Monday, and football beats Arkansas and A&M in November.
So I don't know that Texas is going to be – they got the one road win before the end of the season that they needed last night. I don't know that they're going to beat Baylor and Waco next week. Maybe, but if I'm being honest, I don't think that happens.
Gotcha. I would just warn Baylor. A lot of teams that have thought they were going to give Texas a big old goodbye in their place before conference realignment, a lot of them have been wrong. I'm just pointing it out. Buy or sell number 4, Catch. It's Luka's birthday today. He is on the Dallas Mavericks Mount Rushmore already.
I feel like you would need to be the one to answer that, but all right, let me think about it. My instincts say automatic buy, but let me think this through. Dirks could be the entire Mount Rushmore himself.
True.
Dirk's on it. And I feel like that's the only guy in front of Luka. I mean,
yeah.
I'm thinking of Mark Aguirre. I'm thinking of all of the Nash. I'm thinking of all of the guys that have got to come through and everything. But I'm going to say buy that he has to be in the top 4.
Yeah, and by the way, as of today, Luka Doncic can rent a car in the United States. He's only
Who else is on who's on your Mavericks Mount Rushmore?
I mean, when I came up with it in my head, I was like, I guess it has to be. Now, I'm a Mark Aguirre guy, so I would go like, I mean, to me, he's their first megastar. So I would go with those 2, Aguirre, and then start to have the discussion about 4. And then you're talking about who is it? You brought up Nash. Is that the way, do you go Nash, or do you pick somebody else from the championship team? Do you, was Jason Kidd a Maverick long enough? Because he was a Maverick in a couple different circumstances. Was he a Maverick long enough that you'd give him that love because he's Jason Kidd? I don't know.
Moral of the story is the Mavericks need some more badass players.
They probably do, because I can't make that. I can't really stand on the, I don't know that I could really stump for either like Harper, Blackman, or Davis to really be Mount Rushmore. But it might be one of those 3. Like, those are the first guys I fell in love with. Is one of those guys big enough with Aguirre to be Aguirre and blank? Aguirre Davis.
I'm going to think about this more today than I should. So thank you for planting that seed in my head for me to think about a team's Mount Rushmore that I don't even give a shit about. Thank you, Chad, for that.
Fair enough.
It's going to happen.
Hey, ultimately, it's your fault. You're the one that brought Mount Rushmores into my life. That's your fault. Okay, so we're going to finish off, Catch, with a buy or with a buy or sell. Well, imagine that. With a hotter than for a birthday girl, because today the whipped cream bikini from Varsity Blues turns 48 years old. Not the scene, the person. Allie Larder has a birthday today. You may need to do a search on this other name. I'm hoping you don't, but I think it's a decent comparison. Here we go. Allie Larder, hotter than Mila Jovovich.
Ooh. Ooh.
You can go prime on prime if you like. Whatever your favorite of each one is. Allie Larder.
You've done kind of a thing that I've done, which is you paired 2 together that I don't immediately think of side by side.
I didn't either, but they're almost exactly the same age if you'd like to go right now. But they also both, to me, have that. There's a certain look to them. There's like a cool girl hotness. There's almost like a superhero hotness to Mila. And I kind of like them both for the same reason. So I decided to put them against each other and see what you wanted to do.
I'm going to buy that Allie. I don't think Allie. Let me give you my explanation on this.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mila is hotter than Allie Larder.
Okay.
But when you say the words Allie Larder, I lick my lips because of the whipped cream bikini scene. And I don't know that there's a Mila moment that makes me feel the way that I feel when I think about Allie Larder. But I do think Mila's hotter than her. But I would be disingenuous. And I know Mila, nobody needs to explain in the chat Mila's background. I get it. I know it. I know the movies that she's been in. I think she's hotter. But she never had a moment in a movie that includes hotness that's as hot as the whipped cream bikini scene.
So I like that. I like that thought process. Just a side question. In terms of the whipped cream bikini, can you think of another scene in a movie where there's not true nudity that's in that category? Because to me, it's one of the best.
I would need some time to think about it.
It's one of the best of our lifetime. There's no one truly naked in that scene. Nobody's naked. There's no technical nudity at all. You can show that on TV for the rest of our lives. But it is really iconic and sexy and interesting every time we see it. And I always love seeing it.
She's got the whipped cream on her hoo-ha. It's like.
Right. It is one of the most wonderfully suggestive moments in a movie. And she pulled it off well. Love Allie Larder. Happy 48 to Allie today.
I need to think about it because you know what else falls into that category? Women who paint their bodies. So they actually are nude, but they paint like a Wonder Woman costume on themselves.
Right.
And you're able to show them naked on television.
They've started doing that with the Sports Illustrated swimsuit deal the last few years where they'd have a whole section of just the painted stuff. They would paint, like swimsuits on them. Like
the character in X-Men where...
Oh, yeah.
What's that character's name?
Where Rebecca Romaine is, what's that called?
You're thinking of what I'm thinking, though.
Yeah, exactly. All the blue stuff or whatever. I can't think of her name. Somebody's going to put it in the chat in a second. I can't think of the name, though. Can't think of the name.
All right. Someone said Raquel Welch's shower T-shirt and 101 rifles. You have to be old, Phil.
Go ahead, Phil.
I know who Raquel Welch is, but I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. Mystique is who you're looking for, Kat. Mystique. Yep. Now, she was great.
All right, Chad, sign us off. It's 1:30. I got to go.
All right. Preview for later today. The recruiting show is coming up. It'll be myself and Jason Sukamel. Jason with the latest information from his 321 column from orangebloods.com. I want to talk about a receiver. I took a look at the film that Alex Dunlap's been flipping out over, and we're going to react to that. Talk about the update on that guy. And is he going to be visiting Texas? But also, we will talk about the story we hit today, a little more on Landon Rink and what Jason is hearing from Landon Rink in the class of 25. That's coming up at 4 o'clock tonight on The Outsiders. We're going to be talking quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning. How do you get along in a quarterback room like that? Nobody better to ask than Chance Mock. He's been through a lot of that stuff throughout his career. We'll get his thoughts on it tonight, 9 o'clock. Make sure you're there. Oh, and by the way, Jay Brent Cox is going to join us as well at 9:15. 2005 national champ with the baseball team, of course. Got that last out, and he is in the Longhorn Hall of Honor. He's a legend. We're going to talk to him tonight also. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications for Orange Bloods Live. Until high noon tomorrow, we are house divided. See ya.